Okay, so Edsel has volunteered to start, and so we'll start with their idea, and then I'm going to work my way kind of around, so I'm not walking in between everybody.
How many ideas do we have to present?
I didn't keep count.
How many people
gonna
have
guess-
ideas to present? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that it?
Some people have 2 ideas.
Somebody could have more than one.
There's 4 there, and then there's 1 orphan over there, so 10-ish.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So Shali and I had virtually the same idea. We just used a couple different phrases. So the concept of a magnet or a choice or a lab school was kind of the general title of it. But if you think about 2 schools, Santa Rita or Oak, both of those attendance boundaries have a corresponding junior high within those boundaries. So the concept was to move one of those 2 schools onto the junior high site that it corresponds to, giving BCS the former school. So if we move Oak School onto the block site, Oak becomes the old Oak becomes the new BCS school site. So you get one neighborhood school at one of the junior highs, and then at the other junior high, you build this magnet or lab or choice school that actually can pull from anywhere in the district based on choice or interest. That would help alleviate enrollment growth in the other elementaries. Could be a K-8, could be just a K-6 site. We also talked about the idea of junior high to middle school, and it really could go either way with this option. Either one could be feasible, so it's not necessarily a definitive component of this particular option.
And there would be no boundary changes for the kids who attend either Santa Rita or Oak. And that's it. No boundary changes. And
Wouldn't have to
it
require.
wouldn't require a middle school conversion. You wouldn't have to buy new land. You would just spend the money on building the 2 schools on the junior high campuses and upgrading whichever facility is given to BCS.
Questions from the Shark Tank?
So you would be then creating a K-8 within the district of Oak Block. So then actually the issue of whether you turn Block into a middle school is moot because you've actually gone K-8 now.
So that wasn't exactly the option we had thought about. It was literally housing 2 schools on Block's campus. So a junior high or middle school Block, and then a separate school that would be K-6, or in theory it could be a K-8 kind of magnet type.
So if I understand, both Egan and Block would end up having 2 schools on those sites.
Correct.
And the benefit to the elementary school kids is that they could have some of these single subject teachers do like a seminar or have some access to the track or the gymnasium. So it would really enrich the elementary school curriculum.
Okay, being a parent from Oak, I would say the negative of that, and that's going to be the same for those who, if it's going to Egan, it's the same, that the age-appropriate play for kindergartners, 1st and 2nd, is really not, the mix of kindergartners with 8th graders isn't something that's particularly desirable.
So currently at
So-
Alton, I know that our 6th graders don't mix with our kindergartners or our TKs. And I think it would still be, we'd still be able to keep them separate.
Right, and 7th and 8th graders would,
So
Even less.
we'll get to that level of detail if we get to the next 2 meetings.
Yep.
So what we're trying to keep it to 3 minutes each so we get through them all. But that's all good. Anything else? Final comments? So I'm going to put these 2 together up here, and I hope I've summarized it correctly.
Can I ask one quick thing? This is sort of across things. If there is a new school, like, so you hire a new principal, I assume, and all, so when these ask these financial questions, the district has money for all that, or what?
So that'll be, I think we're gonna be getting into the pros and cons, right, of each of these. And that could be a con, could be cost more money.
Yeah, like right now, when I go through these, I say it's a con, because you have additional staff, but that's operating expense, right? So that, no bond money goes to help that,
Right,
correct?
that'll have to come out of the general
So-
fund, and we'd have to decide that's a priority.
Yeah,
Right.
so I guess
So
what
on
I'm
the general
asking
fund.
is, I think that's potentially a big con if the
Could be.
operating money's not there. Is that right? Or am I just wrong in understanding the operating budget?
Well, we have a $50 million operating budget, and the board has the ability to make decisions about how to spend that money.
Okay,
So if we decide to make a priority to have another school and have additional overhead, then we'll have to make that work.
Gotcha.
Okay, so moving on, Tanya, you're next.
Okay.
Are you gonna, how many are you gonna do of your 4?
Well,
Start with one.
I'm just gonna, I'll try to just be real. I don't, yeah, I wanna represent Jules, because she's not here. I'm gonna start with, kind of just an extended sharing, kind of just ripping off of the previous one where they talked about having, sharing at, the current middle school campuses of Egan and Block. This idea was to also say, there's a third large campus, which is Covington, and if St. Michael's comes into play and some other places, we can do sharing on all 3 of those sites. And then you can take all the pieces of our puzzle and say, okay, where do people go? Where should middle schools go? Do we want to bring in a new school? Do we want to use the current, say, BCS site on Egan to relieve some of the north of El Camino? Do we want to add a magnet school? Do we want to add a new neighborhood school? There's a lot of options. So that one was more around increasing the total number of schools on our sites.
So that's
Any
shared
question about
sites at Covington, Egan, Block.
Yep.
Is that an easy,
Yes.
good summary of that one?
Yeah,
Okay.
no new land purchase on that one.
Okay.
It's just kind of pushing it to the extreme and then saying, wow, we have a lot of extra sites, what do we want to do?
So I think it'd be good to take questions on that particular one. if
Does
there are.
anybody have questions about it? Okay. So this one is about adding a new site. So it's moving the BCS somewhere, sharing or exclusive. But the main part of this was to really say we need an additional elementary school to in the north area of the district to deal with the population growth that's in that area. So utilizing, either purchasing a new site in north of El Camino, kind of like what James was saying, or using the shared site at Egan. So it was a new site really to help address the growth in north of El Camino. Any
New
questions
site.
about that one?
And then shared Egan. And shared mean 2 schools at Egan, a middle school, junior high, and an elementary.
It could be either way. If you purchase a new site and use it for the north of El Camino, then I guess BCS or somebody has to kind of stay on the BCS site. If you don't purchase a new site, then displacing BCS, putting it somewhere else in the district, and creating a north of El Camino neighborhood school at Egan, where BCS is currently located. So it's kind of like two
BCS one where?
BCS I said it depends. My kind of favorite location for BCS is kind of sharing at Covington because there's the largest potential, especially if the St. Williams thing come into play for accommodating them and another school population at Covington.
Okay,
Okay.
any others? You got 2 more?
Yeah.
So you're gonna do Jill's?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I jump in actually, because mine
Yeah.
was reconfiguring Covington?
Go for
That
it.
makes sense right now?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
so mine was to move the DO to an alternate site and build 2 separate schools on Covington, getting rid of the parking lot and utilizing a lot nearby, either the park or the church. Any questions?
So was there, what happens with BCS on that?
BCS will either move to the new existing site at Covington or get an elementary site that would have to move to Covington.
Okay, so we'd have to swap.
So
Yeah.
for both of those, were there attendance boundary changes? That's
Well,
a
it
question
depends,
to
it
both of you.
depends on if BCS moves to Covington, then there's no real boundary changes, but if you move a different school site, then there would be boundary changes.
Well, the Covington people have to go somewhere.
They would still be here.
Oh, okay. Have BCS and.
And
So
Tanya,
if you
But here,
create,
we're still short a school, right? What am I, did I miss something?
Yeah, she's
Still need to place for the DO.
Right, you place
You
the
might have
deal.
to do the middle school conversion.
We'd have to do middle school conversion
Yeah.
with that to make that.
Sorry, I did
But
have.
that's
the
where
middle-
you could dig
Okay.
under 280.
Got it. No,
It's
that's
also
good.
Office
contingent
under
on
280,
getting
is
some
that there?
extra.
The district.
So, but to
Okay.
answer Randy's question, if you create a new site to address the north of El Camino, then yeah, you need to reconfigure the attendance areas, especially in the north end of the district, absolutely, that's required.
Okay. And then you had one more? Or two more? You have two
Yeah.
more, I'm sorry.
This says create 2 K-8 campuses, convert Egan to K-8 for BCS, keep K-5 and build a 6 to 8 at Covington. So that's a shared site like they were talking about at Block or Egan, but this is at Covington. This is a Jill idea. So maybe it's kind of like the first idea in that sense.
BCS to where?
BCS to Egan, and I think it's exclusive use of Egan.
Where is he gonna go?
Egan stays, Egan goes to Covington. So the 6 to 8 part moves to Covington, and then the Covington K-5 is all there. So it's like a
Two schools at one
Two
site.
schools at one
K-8.
site.
And then do you move the district offices too?
I think the district offices are relocated. It doesn't say anything about district offices. Probably relocate them.
I think
Okay.
it's
Not
4%
specified.
the difference between K8 campuses and K5, 6, 8.
District offices at Block. Seems similar. Build K-5 for north of El Camino at Egan, BCS at Covington, along with K through 5 school district offices at Block. It's a variation.
Okay, so could I put that one with this one? Group it? It sounded the same. It's a
Kinda, yeah, it's like a
DO.
hybrid of the two that we just looked at. It's slightly different.
Here, I'll take this one.
Okay,
Put
there you
them
go.
up on
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, Natalie, you're next.
Well, I didn't really, because mine was,
You got
To get-
absorbed?
it's sort of, well, I mean, it's to get the cities to go with us, but it didn't have anything more to do than that, so I think everybody else's is more specific, but.
You guys are ready?
We like it.
Actually, I think that that's worth
Okay.
putting up there, because I think what a very absent player is the cities. I mean,
keep talking.
they're not in the negotiations with this, and that's wrong.
I agree. I mean,
So I think.
we do have new council members in Mountain View and Los Altos, and I don't know if that would be a possibility to bring up the situation again. I mean, the whole thing about, I haven't been with the community center where that is exactly, but I mean, one idea was to utilize that space for some school and do some shared. you know.
Okay, so do we want to put that up?
I guess so.
Okay. So that's, how do we want to term that? Engaging city